Well, guys, I know what you're thinking. The last thing this world needs is another 3 picket planter box video on YouTube. And while I kind of agree with you, I know it's been played out. I had a couple of these that I needed to make for a client. I got a couple of them, a couple orders in for these. Actually, I had to build 4 of them altogether. But I figured, hey, if I'm going to build it, I might as well video it, and maybe it'll help some of you out there. Maybe some of you have watched some of the other videos and you're still kind of on the fence or worried about getting started. Don't. This is a simple build. I'm going to walk you through the process step by step, and you'll see at the end that if I can build it, you can build it too, no doubt. And hopefully you'll take that next step forward and do that. So, yeah, guys, I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, the little notification bell. And with that, let's get started.
All right, we're going to kick things off by cutting our first picket, and I always start by just cutting a little bit of the end off just to make sure that we're starting from square. And then our first cut is going to be 14 inches. And actually on this first picket, we're going to do 2 14-inch cuts and 3 12 3/4-inch cuts. So again, we just cut our 2 14-inch boards. Now we're going to cut 3 12 3/4-inch boards. Then again, we're going to cut our second picket exactly the same as the first. Square off that end. Then we're going to cut 2 14-inch boards and 3 12 3/4-inch boards. And again, when we're done with both of those, you should have 4 of the 14-inch boards and 6 of the 12 3/4-inch boards. Now our third picket is going to get ripped, so you'll want to set your table saw at 1 3/4 inches, and we'll make 2 rips at 1 3/4. And then we're going to bring that fence in to 1 1/8 for our final rip on this third picket. And you'll see where all this goes once we start the actual build process. So then once we've ripped that third picket, we're going to take our 1 3/4, one of our 1 3/4-inch boards, and we're going to cut 4 pieces at 16 inches each. And these are going to be your legs of the planter box. Then we're going to take the 1 1/8-inch board that we ripped, and again we're going to cut 4 pieces at 16 inches, and these are going to be the other halves of your legs. And again, you'll see how all this fits together once we start the build process. Then we're going to take the small 5/8 inch piece board that was kind of the leftover piece from the third rip, and cut 2 12-inch pieces from it, and those are going to serve as the supports for the bottom of our planter box. Then we'll take the final 1 3/4-inch piece, and we're going to cut off a 12 3/4-inch board from it to fill in the rest of the bottom. Once we've made all our cuts, I went ahead and sanded the sides of the box just to go ahead and get those nice and smooth. And of course, we can sand the legs and the top and everything else after the build is done. With everything cut and sanded, we can now start the assembly process. And I'm going to start with our longer boards, our 14-inch boards, and those will get the 1 1/8 inch wide legs. So you use the 1 1/8 inch legs on the longer 14-inch boards. And again, you'll see why this will all make sense once we start putting this thing together. Again, I use that framing square. We want to make sure those legs are good and even with the top and the rest of our box. And I'm shooting 4 nails in each of these legs, 2 in the top board and 2 in the bottom board. Of course, clean up any excess glue that squeezes out. It's a lot easier to do that now than to wait till it starts to dry. Once you've built that side, you can stand it up on the end. I stand it up on the end, put some glue on the side here, and then we're going to put one of our 1 3/4 inch legs on the side there and even that up with the 1 1/8 inch leg. You'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. I'm putting about 5 nails in these longer legs. Now we're going to do our other 14-inch side. So again, we're going to use the 1 1/8 inch legs here on the front. Get those glued and nailed down. And again, we'll stand that up, put some glue on each side, and put the longer or the wider 1 3/4 inch legs. Again, making sure the front of that leg is flush with the other leg. Once we have the 2 longer sides together, we can stand them up on their end and put some glue into the corners there of the legs. And then we're going to drop in our narrower 12 3/4 inch sides there. Drop them in, make sure they're flush at the top and that they're good and snug against the sides of your planter box. And then you can shoot some nails. And I'm shooting 6 nails in these, 3 in the top board and 3 in the bottom. Once you've done that, you can flip it over and again glue up and nail the other side. Not sure why I nailed the top board first before putting in the bottom board in this case, but it works either way. Then you kind of got your box together at this point. I went ahead and threw a clamp on this one side. I think I had a little bit of a gap there. So I got that squeezed in. And now we're going to put in those 2 12-inch 5/8 wide boards, bottom supports. We're going to glue and nail those flush with the bottom of the box. And our bottom boards will simply set on top of those. Of course, we'll glue and nail those as well. So again, once you get your supports in, flip that box over, get some glue on the top of those 2 12-inch support pieces. So this is where the 2 extra 12 3/4 inch boards go. Put 1 on each side of the bottom. And then the 1 3/4 inch wide piece that you cut at 12 3/4 inches will fill in the middle of the bottom. And I should have got an overhead shot here for you to be able to see how that all fits together. But yeah, your wider pieces on each side and drop that 1 3/4 inch piece in the middle, and it should pretty much fill up the bottom of your box. Might have just a little bit of a gap, just a touch between the boards, which is fine to allow for drainage. Now with the bottom end, we're going to start working on the top, and I'll go ahead and make my first 45 cut on the board, on one board, just so I can kind of get a measurement or an idea of how long these top pieces need to be. Now this is where I messed up. I decided to go with 16 inches. It gave me some overhang around all the way around the box. But what I didn't realize is at 16 inches, I did not have enough left on that 1 3/4 inch board to get all 4 sides. I'm going to come up a little bit short on my 4th piece. Now for you guys following along with this build, I would recommend probably cutting these at 15 1/2 and I think you would be able to get all 4 of your cuts out of that. Once you have them cut though, I just start dry fitting everything in place to make sure all the miters are going to line up good, and to get an idea of, kind of what my overhang is going to be. Once I have them in place, I'll go ahead and pull one away, get some glue on it. Then we can get that first top piece nailed down. Then I just make my way around. Doesn't matter. I'm working counterclockwise here, but it doesn't really matter. Just work your way around, doing one side at a time, making sure everything continues to line up all the way around the box. Then once you got them all lined up together, I go ahead and run nails all the way around the sides, putting in 5 to 6 nails on each side. I always put 4 nails on each corner there in the miter, 2 on each side, just to make sure that that miter holds. Then I go ahead, once I get it done, I go ahead and hit it a final time with the sander, hit those legs and the tops, round those edges off just a touch, just so it's not rough, and then finish things off by drilling 5 holes in the bottom.
All right, guys, that's it for the 3 picket planter build. I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll give this thing a try if you haven't already. Great little project for a beginner. And speaking of, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, the little notification bell, so you'll never miss another one of our videos. Man, that helps me out tremendously. Appreciate all the support that you guys have given me so far. It's just been absolutely overwhelming. And yeah, guys, I look forward to seeing you on the next one.